Okay, next, tell us about your college experience.
Am I first?
If you want to.
Well,
Be.
my best, my wonderful time was when I roomed with my best friend Rita Michelson, later became Korn. Rita Michelson and I roomed with two girls from Baltimore. Rita and I were from Washington. We had a 4-girl room and it was a blast. We really had fun, except we got into trouble a lot. And we would constantly, in those days, there were all these regulations and times you had to be in, curfews. So we would get campused, which meant we had to be kept restricted to our rooms. We couldn't go out for the weekend. Blah, 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 blah. It was so stupid. So one time, the 4 of us got in a lot of trouble, and I thought it was kind of funny, so I wrote poetry about it. And when we had to go before the judicial board, and I read my poem in front of the dean of women and the judicial board, the 4 of us were on the floor laughing because the poem was rather clever. I should have faked. We were hysterical laughing. And did they punish us? We were confined to our rooms except to go to classes for like a week and a half. No telephone calls, nothing. It was horrible. And then there was the time I accidentally started a fire in the dorm and the firemen had to come. And I jumped out of the shower and naked, put on my raincoat and ran out to sit with all the girls. I was crying because I started it by accident because my roommate was sleeping and said, "Don't dare wake her up," and I had to go take a shower. So I put a towel over the little light that she had on, the little lamp light, and the towel caught fire. So the whole dorm was evacuated, and there I was, but they didn't blame me or put me in prison or anything. And
What dorm was it?
Somerset.
And did you know Rita before college?
Rita was a friend in high school for last years of high school, and then we turned out to be best friends in Baltimore. We both married Baltimore boys, lived in Baltimore, and were very best friends. Celebrated our birthdays and everything. We were just the best. And long story short, college was a lot of fun. As I say, I was like the new girl on campus, and I had a great time.
You joined a sorority?
A5. I didn't like sorority. I stayed in it the years I was in college, but I did not like sorority. I didn't like the way they judged other girls, and it was it was an introduction to some nasty moments. I didn't particularly like being with large groups of girls. You talked about where they got their shoes and when they got their hair done, but it was a good sorority. It was good for me socially to, bring me out. That was that. And then I graduated by the skin of my teeth. I graduated with honors. I don't know how. I think I was the last one on the list.
What did you study?
I was pre-law, and I studied a lot of government and politics. Oh, and then there was a time I always came in second. Ran for Queen of Hillel. I think I came in second. There were probably 3 contestants. And I was picked for the Diamondback newspaper as the beauty of the week. Each week they picked a girl on campus they considered pretty. I was picked for 1 week and interviewed and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? It never got in the paper. They fired the guy who interviewed me because they probably thought I was so ugly. Why did he choose me? Oh, and then there was the time that I was photographed with one of the football stars from the Sugar Bowl, Bob DiStefano, because there was a photographer from the State Department, and he had Bob DiStefano and myself posing for pictures for a brochure that they were doing, which I never saw. They probably burned it. But they just asked me to do the pictures, so anyway.
Okay.
That's it. I had a good time.
How about you, Dad, at MIT? What experiences academically, fraternity?
When I first arrived there, they had Rush Week, and I was only 17. I was pretty green, naive in a lot of ways. My father actually accompanied me up. He tied in with a business trip to Boston. I went up there in, it was early March, because we had 3 semesters we were running because of the war. And I think it was Boston winters pretty bleak. Um, anyway, they had Rush Week. There was another boy from Baltimore, Phil Mock, that came. He was a little more worldly than I was. I followed him around, and they were giving out bids. So I went with him, got into this fraternity, and
Good one. Name it.
Pi Lam, and it turned out to be good for me socially, etc. I still remember my first morning. I had to take a double physics course to make up for the grades I didn't have. Anyway, I started on a cold Monday morning, get across the bridge from Boston to Cambridge, where MIT was, and went in the class at 8 o'clock, half asleep, in a course that I didn't like. And I saw groups of students. There must have been about 40 of us in the class, and hardly anybody was speaking English because everybody was in the service. And either you were under 18 or you're from some foreign country. But somehow I got through the course. But I'll tell you, the first few months I wondered whether I was going to make it through. But socially, the fraternity was a good thing for me. We had plenty of parties and things, but they had strict rules in the fraternity house about study time, so we didn't make too much happy times, etc. I got introduced to things like beer and wine and alcohol. I never overdid it. Got introduced to lobsters and crabs, clams or whatever. Anyway, I put in my 2 semesters. Enjoyed myself there till I went into service that following year. Then came back, I say, a year later. I only lived in the fraternity house the first 2 semesters because when everybody came back from the war, there wasn't room for everybody, so I roomed down the street on Beacon Street in Boston, and went all the way through to graduation.
So nobody lived on campus at MIT? They didn't have...
Yeah, oh yeah, they had
dorms.
dormitories over there.
You stayed in one.
Right.
Yeah, that was on the Cambridge side, but we had to cross the bridge every day to and from, and for lunch. The fraternity house had to come back and forth. We used to hitchhike across. Those days, people would hitchhike across the Harvard Bridge, Mass Avenue Bridge officially. So winter's a little bleak up in Boston, but it was a great time. I dated a lot. Always went after the good-looking girls. I wasn't shy. I finally blossomed out, and I'd go to these different schools, and there were plenty of schools around Boston, and plenty of girls around, so we had a lot of fun.
Okay, tell us about your participation in sports, and at what level did you play? Did you play for the school? Did you just play in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I played a lot. I love sports. I was a tomboy. I loved it. And I played baseball with all the boys on the playground in the summer. And I was the only girl. Played baseball with them. And my parents would come by in the car and, Mother Dear and Honey. I want you to know that's what we call them. Honey was a honey. Mother Dear we had to call Mother Dear. We didn't leave out the dear or else. Long story, they'd shout, Joy, come on, we're going swimming at the club. Not Joy, I'm playing baseball all day with the guys. Till then, I did take up swimming, and I loved it. And I wasn't very fast, but I could swim a lot of laps at the club at Indian Springs, and we went out there every day that we could in the summer, Gay, Hope, and I. Hope was 3 years old when she'd jump off the diving board. And we would swim in meets, and it was great. It was really good. We loved it. And then for a while, one summer, I don't know how this happened. I was a third base coach for a men's softball team, and I don't know how that happened. Can't remember. I don't think I lasted too long. And I played volleyball in high school on the volleyball team. We were pretty good. Pretty good. I think we had we went into some kind of, we didn't win the championship, I don't think, but we went into some playoffs. But it was fun. I loved it. And that's it. That's what I can think of. Swimming was my best. And in college, I did synchronized swimming, a lot of ballet swimming
For the
for the college
University?
college swim team. But I stopped that then because I didn't want to practice all the time. I had a boyfriend. I didn't want to be swimming every night. But it was wonderful. I love swimming.
My dad, how about you?
My father was a great athlete. I was not. I guess I took after my mother more or less. I enjoyed playing softball. We had, in my teen years, we used to have, in the summertime, we have an after dinner softball game in the neighborhood. Other than that, I was no great tennis player. I did go to day camp during the summer in my younger years, and we played softball there and swimming, so forth. And I was no great swimmer either. When I went on to in high school, didn't have time for it. Not that I would have competed in anything, but when I went on to MIT, to get into fraternity, you had to also get into some sport. So I tried out for the track team. Found out that a lot of guys could run a lot faster than I could. Also, I went out in the rowing in
Crew.
the crew, yeah. Where there would be, how many was it, 6, 8 of us? I can't remember. Crew, we'd get up very early in the morning, go on the Charles River and take out the shell. And when they said row, boy, you rowed. And one good thing I got out of it was that I built up my biceps. I mean, that was a vigorous stroke that you had to. I don't think we won any prizes, but we got a lot of good exercise. Beyond that, I didn't do much of anything.
I shouldn't tell my story, should I? When I was on the country club swimming team and we would compete with other clubs and other places, what happened? That the country clubs that wouldn't let us swim there because 2 of us on the team were.
Tell
Okay, quickly. I swam for the Indian Springs Country Club swim team and had a wonderful swim instructor, etc. And we would compete with other clubs or other swim teams in Washington, but Columbia Country Club, Congressional Country Club, and Kenwood Country Club would not let us swim against their teams because 2 of us, could have been 3 of us, I don't remember, on the team were Jewish. And they wouldn't let us swim in their clubs. I've never forgotten that to this day. And our swim coach, who was Catholic, said, the hell with them. We don't have to swim against them. And we changed our name to the Ambassador Swim Club after a swim team in Washington. And we swam against other clubs in Baltimore and Washington. And I never got over the fact that just because a couple of us on that team were Jewish, that those country clubs would not allow us there. So that was the only real discrimination that I felt against me that hurt terribly. But our coach took care of it in his own way, and it worked out.